guys, and welcome back to In the Beginning. This is our last session, so today you're going to have an opportunity to share about all the different things that God has revealed to you over the last 5 weeks. So in today's session, I want to encourage you to share what God's shown you personally that you're clothed in and how you're made original. Today, I am so thankful for an opportunity to share the time whenever God first really instilled into my heart what it means to be an original to Him. I want to start off with what the definition of original is. Original means present or existing from the beginning. Might sound familiar, in the beginning. First or the earliest, created directly and personally by a particular artist, not a copy or an imitation. So I have grown up in church, and I have seen some amazingly talented and amazingly gifted people, not just at my current church, but even whenever we lived in Ohio growing up, I've seen very talented people, both in the church and outside of the church, with communication gifts and gifts as artists. And I've had this struggle in my heart of comparison. And comparison can rob us of the simplest things, everyday things, but also our obedience and enjoyment with God. I didn't realize it, but I struggled with believing that I didn't really matter in the kingdom. I mean, God accepted everybody. So what's the big deal about Him accepting me? And I didn't realize it, but I saw all of us Christians as like little pawns, disposable pawns in this big game of chess where it's us against the enemy. And, a lot of people have said in the past, if you don't obey God, He's just going to get somebody else to do it. And I think that there is some truth to what that statement says, and that other people's salvation aren't completely riding on you being a perfect Christian. And I understand the relief that can come with that. But for me, what it spoke to my heart was, well, it doesn't really matter if you obey God. I mean, who are you really anyways? And what God showed me in this moment, whenever I was confronted with all of these lies, they all boiled to the surface in something that's called a Kairos moment. That's a moment when heaven invades earth and God's showing you this thing inside of your heart and you have an opportunity. What am I going to do with this? And am I going to let Him speak life and truth into my heart in this moment? And I was with my husband in my car, crying my heart out, crying my eyes out, because I was getting ready to speak at an event, and I was scared to death because I didn't think, why me, Lord? I mean, anybody could do this. It doesn't matter if it's me. I don't want to be exposed. I don't want to have my heart out there for people to reject me. All of these unbelief things just stewing inside of my heart. And it was God's grace and His kindness, because He wanted to reveal to me what it means to be His original, to be created directly, personally by Him. I had this vision in that moment whenever I was crying out to God all of my fears. And He gave me this vision of my DNA. And He showed me this picture right here is the closest thing I found to what I saw in my mind's eye. And I saw like these daisies and these flowers and these butterflies and just all of these things that make my heart sing, right? And I know that my DNA probably doesn't actually look like this, but He was showing me that to be fearfully and wonderfully made isn't just some Christian saying, but it's really true, that He made me in a way that no one else would ever be created. And He's made you in a way that no one else will ever be created. Now, we might have similar gifts or talents, but we don't have the same parents or the same history, and we won't have all of the same relationships. And He showed me the significance of my obedience, to not just hear the word, but to apply it in my life and release His kingdom, because He's given me an opportunity to have friendship with Him as we advance His kingdom. And whenever I found freedom in that moment, that I'm not just a pawn on a board, but that I'm chosen and I'm wanted and I'm loved, I was given a new access to freedom in giving of what He put in my heart to do. Now, I would love to tell all of you that this was a one-time occurrence, and after this evening, everything was so easy. I just obey God like no problem, right? But we're working out our salvation. This was a Kairos moment where he showed me my unbelief and he gave me something in exchange. So I have now an opportunity to remind myself, to renew my mind to the truth that he's given me. And it becomes easier and easier to engage with that truth as time goes by and you keep it in front of you. So the best way to do this is to ask God for a strategy, a practical way. How do I apply this truth to my life? Okay. So he showed me I'm original. He showed me that I'm valuable and that I should step out and do the things that he's called me to do. So what does it look like to remember that? For me, it's like very small things like putting this on the front of a binder I use all the time. I see this picture and I'm reminded who Jesus says I am. But even in today, coming here to record this video for you, I had to remind myself that it's okay for me to be different and that God celebrates me and my different communication gift than somebody else that I admire, that I can celebrate others and lift them up, and I don't have to compare myself or be afraid. So today I want to invite you, if you struggle with knowing that you are an original, that the artist, God made you personally in a beautiful way, I would invite you to ask him, what does that look like for me, God? Because you're not going to have the same experience I did, but I'm telling you there's a big difference between knowing a list of scriptures that are abstract over here and him impacting your heart. Blessed are those who know their need of God. And in that moment, I knew my need of him because I was in a vulnerable state and he was able to flood me with his love. So I want to release you guys to go ahead and dive into discussion. Talk about, if you've had an encounter like this, talk about the rest of what you're going to do now. Now what? What are you going to do with all of this information that you've been armed with? Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story.